We're so excited to have Marti Sementelli join the show today. She's a pitcher for the U.S. women's national baseball team. She was a gold medalist from the 2015 Pan American Games, and she was the youngest rostered player at 15 years old to compete with Team USA at the World Women's Cup of Baseball. Marti, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we're so lucky to have you this week, in which is a big week for women's baseball because it was just announced that the WPBL will be kicking off in 2026. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy to be part of the show. Thanks, guys.
Well, I always like to start these interviews really at the very beginning. So, where was it that your love of baseball came from?
It started at a young age. My dad really was the first person to put a ball in my hands. He loved playing baseball. He grew up playing the game. And, when he found out he had a daughter, he said, you know what, I can still teach her how to play baseball. And kind of started as just to keep me busy in the house. And then it kind of snowballed into something that I loved. I loved to play, and then ended up loving the game. And then it's kind of just continued throughout my entire life.
What was it about the game that you really enjoyed?
I don't know. Especially being a pitcher, I just love controlling the outcome of everything. Just being involved in every single pitch is just truly. It just gives you all the power in the world to lead your team in the right direction, and it's kind of just became so addicting and something that I wanted to continue to get better and better each day, and just gradually practice every day to be the best.
Softball is really known as being that kind of female counterpart to baseball, but at what age really for you was it that you started to see the boys and the girls kind of separate between baseball and softball?
Growing up, I only saw one other girl play in Little League. That was for one season because I really thought I was pretty much the only girl ever to really play. And then when I got to high school, everyone was like, "Are you going to play softball?" And I was like, "No, I mean it's a totally different sport. I can continue playing the game." I never really doubted myself. I never thought like, "Oh, well, since you're getting a little bit older now and the field's getting bigger, you should stop playing the game that you love." I never really had that as an option. And as I got older, I did find out that there are other women that do play throughout the country, and that was really enlightening to hear.
I have a couple of questions about that. I mean, the first one is when you said that you really thought you were the only girl that was playing, what was that like for you?
I thought I was alone because I didn't have what they do now with all the different programs going on. I just played baseball, and I didn't really think of anything other than that about being gender specific. But when I did find out that there were other girls playing, I was like so relieved because I could relate to them in so many ways, and they were going through the same thing as I was, just trying to prove yourself in a male dominated sport. So it was really awesome to be able to get to relate and make friends with these girls all across the country.
When was it that you found out that there were other girls playing baseball?
So I was just going into my sophomore year of high school. And then after that, it pretty much changed my entire life of my relationships, my friends, the way I got to play baseball because I got to travel all over the world, which I never would have thought that would have happened. It's truly the best thing that's ever happened to me is playing with Team USA.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, about getting to play with Team USA and getting to play with just a group of women. What was it like to be on a women's team after playing with men and boys for so long?
Honestly, it was just the fact of being treated normal, not like you stood out in any particular way. On the boys' teams is always like, can she hold up with the boys? Can she compete? Like, we're waiting for her to fail. And then with the women's team, it was just we're just playing the game that we enjoy, and there was no waiting for the ball to drop, of like waiting for her to quit or anything like that. It was just it's an easy camaraderie with getting along with the other girls. With the guys, it's awesome, but at the same time, you can't really relate to them anyways. So it was really nice to just fit in. Everyone likes to fit in.
No, I completely understand that. I mean, I work on so many broadcast teams where it's entirely men and it's great. Like it's a fun time, but then there's a different feeling sometimes when I do end up on an all-female crew. I'm like, oh, like there's just like a different type of camaraderie that's different. And I love them both. Like I think that they're both great, but it does feel different.
Exactly.
Um,
Same feeling.
I want Yeah. I wanted to ask you too. I know you were in Jimmy Kimmel when you were 10 years old, and it's so, excuse me, it's so interesting because, you were just pitching, you were just doing the thing that you love, but you were getting all of this kind of recognition at such a young age. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it's funny to look back on now because in at that time when I was so young in little league and when all this media attention was happening, I really didn't think of anything of it because I really didn't know what the big idea was. I just like I'm just playing baseball. I didn't really think it was something so special. But looking back at the whole Jimmy Kimmel show, I mean, I think it's one of the coolest things ever now when people find out about it. Because back then, that year, it was his first year ever having a show. So at the time, no one really knew who Jimmy Kimmel was either. It was just going on this talk show that I had no idea who this guy was. And getting to strike him out is definitely a lifetime achievement that I'll never ever forget. So yeah, no, I've had so many great experiences through baseball. It's brought me to so many fun things in my life.
Who were some of the pitchers that you looked up to when you were a kid?
Still to this day, my favorite pitcher is Pedro Martinez. I always related to him on his size and stature. He wasn't the biggest guy out there, but he had full command of his pitches. Along with Greg Maddux, he would just paint the corners. And you could ask any one of my teammates. I'm pretty much known for my location and my off-speed pitches. Just throwing strikes. No one likes to be on a field that, someone's walking every batter after every batter. So those are the two pitchers that I really looked up to, and even to this day.
So you grew up in LA, but were you a Red Sox fan at all growing up? Especially, I know you mentioned Pedro Martinez as the first name there.
Yeah, so I was in Boston, but we moved to LA when I was like 3 years old. So that like kind of Bostonian in me never really left. I was through and through a Red Sox diehard fan. Even when I was in LA, I would try to see them as much as I could, even when they were playing the Angels or anything like that. But my grandfather, Rocco, he worked at Fenway Park as an electrician, so it's kind of known that we're really heavy Red Sox fans, and he would take me there all the time when I was younger. So yeah, through and through Red Sox all the way.
That's awesome. And I know you wanted to play baseball in college. What was that recruiting process like for you?
Yeah, it was very difficult. Just like I said, there wasn't anyone I could really look up to in that regard. So I kind of just said I'm going to play no matter what, and I didn't let anybody stop me. So I pretty much made my recruiting trip for myself. I did the scouting of the schools, contacting the coaches, making a list, really doing all the interviews. Even my high school, like I did it so much on my lunch break that they made me an office at my high school so I can just do my recruiting for me. And they end up raising money for me to go fly out to North Carolina to go to the schools that I wanted to visit. So I pretty much did all the work on that one, sending videos out there with like little DVDs because that's what we used to use back then. But yeah, no, it was definitely an interesting time. Things a lot has changed from now, I'm sure. But I enjoyed, kind of doing it my own and doing all the work.
How many schools showed interest in you in return?
I think I made a list about 10 schools. Since our USA baseball complex is in North Carolina, and all of our USA tryouts and everything were based there in Cary. I pretty much narrowed it down to one state. So I just looked at North Carolina and then kind of funneled everything into there, and then narrowed it down, I think, to like 7 to 10 schools that I had on my list, and then visited like 6 or 7 when I went out there. And then when I left that trip, I pretty much knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Montreat College, and that's where I found like the best fit for me. It helps, on the campus, and really getting to know the coaches in person rather than the phone call and email. That really just helped me figure everything out.
No, I love that. Everything kind of happens the way that it's supposed to, and if you live life the right way, then people say everything happens for a reason, but I think it's like as long as you live with intention, then things always turn out the right way.
Yeah,
And for
definitely.
you, you said it just seemed like at every level, it was like you were proving somebody wrong. You were saying, you can't play past high school, can't play past college. But what opportunity for women to play after college?
Yeah, so we didn't have these camps and everything, when I was growing up, but Major League Baseball has really stepped in and made it possible for a lot of girls to play with other girls, and awareness of everything. So they gather these girls throughout the country and they invite them to camps depending on their age range, and they get them out there and show them, hey, there are other girls that are playing, and maybe they've never like been a part of a women's team or a girls team or anything like that. So they introduce them, and they play games and practices and get taught by our USA national team. And I've been lucky enough to coach a lot of those camps, and kind of just gets them in the forefront of like, you guys can be on the national team soon. And, if you keep developing, and it kind of guides them and, in the direction and funneling this like pipeline of women athletes. But then they also encourage you to continue playing and into the college level as well. Now, after college, the USA team, I mean, it doesn't matter what age that you are. I mean, I started when I was 15. I'm in my 30s now, and we have had women that have been on the team in their 40s, all on the same team. So no matter when you graduate high school or college, or if you're in high school or college, you can play with whatever age, as long as you have the talent level. So there's options to keep playing the game that you love at that international level.
So the Women's Pro Baseball League was just announced that it's going to be coming in the summer of 2026. There's going to be 6 inaugural teams that will be probably, it seems like, in the Northeast area. And I know we were talking a little bit before this call, and you said it was news to you when it came out as well. But what was your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we have talked about, all the players, for so long, that it's great that we could potentially be on a men's team and be one of the only players, and gradually move up in independent ball and continue to go as far as you can. And we've always said, "But wouldn't it be so nice if we could just have our own league, and just be ours, like it used to be, like a league of their own?" If they could do it all the way back then in the 50s, then it's definitely possible to do it in 2024. So it's very exciting to be able to see the new opportunities that they have to show their talents and be able to be part of an all women's team, and to not only just have that as a couple weeks out of a year, but to actually be in a league is what all the girls have dreamed of happening. Even the All-American women that have played in the league, they've always wanted to see a new league while they're still around, be able to witness that again.
I love that you said, if there was a league back in the 50s, there should be a league now in 2024. Why do you think it's taken so long?
Yeah, I guess the public haven't wrapped their brains around it. It hasn't been accepted a lot of the times, that women have been so funneled into like, you should only be playing softball. You need to, you know, stay away from, we were taking a spot away from a guy on a team. I've heard so many different comments, but it they deserve to play the game just as much as the males do. And I think it's important that, the world is changing, and in the sports world, especially in women's sports, all across the board. And I think it's just now time for baseball to give it a shot too.
We were just talking again about how there's been so many women and girls that have been funneled down the softball track. So, how much talent really is out there right now at the women's professional level when it comes to baseball?
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps growing. It's funny when I say that I taught some of the kids at these camps when they were like, 9 or 10. Well, now they're like in high school going into college, and you see how much change that they've had, and improvement they've gotten. And it's like these camps, we just keep finding more and more girls that are playing, and they develop, and then now they're ready to play at this next elite level, on the national team and with this professional team. So it's going to continue to grow. It's getting more popular because it's known in the world in media. Like I said, it wasn't like we didn't have Instagram and social media back then to really like push the women's baseball, but now it's so out there, and it's known that like they know what goals that they can strive for, and they don't have to be alone in this world. They can all have these goals to meet, and that there are opportunities, and they're only going to continue to grow as time goes on.
Yeah, and I think that's something, that's so great about the WPBL. It's really for especially the really young girls that are out there because they see people that they can really look up to. So, my question for you about the WPBL, what do you think that league should look like in order for it to be a success?
I think if they want to have the most women out there, and like numbers wise, they're usually our events happen in the summer. So I would assume, since some of the girls are going to be like in school, like high school, college, or maybe after that, usually the summertime is the best bet to have those opportunities. That way you can have a higher success rate. So I would relate it to something like the Cape League, like in Massachusetts. The Cape League is it's one of the best talented pools out there, and it does happen when those guys are out of school. So I would say some sort of format like that would give really good success. And I'm sure over the next couple of years, it's going to be tweaked, and there'll be some things that work and some things that don't work, but they'll get a sense of what success means for the league.
hmm My last question for you. I'm also a sideline reporter for the Worcester Red Sox, and I remember there was one time I was reporting at a game down there, and I was in the elevator, and I met a young girl at the time, and she said that she loved playing baseball. She had played baseball her whole life, but then suddenly some of her teammates they decided they wanted to start playing softball, and she was, the only one of her friends left on her team. And she was, telling me how hard it was because she wanted to play baseball, but her friends went to go play softball. And it was hard for me to really give her advice because I had never been in a situation like that. And, I kind of understand both sides of it, right? Like, I understand being at that age and really wanting to be around your friends, but I also understand wanting to play the game you love. So, for all of the young girls out there that are going through that, what advice would you give them?
I would say don't listen to the outsiders. Really, just listen to what your heart says. If you really believe that you can play at the next level, or if that's truly something that you want, and you don't want anything else, then do it. Practice, find the resources, really do what makes you happy. Don't do what everybody else wants you to do. Do what your heart says. And if that means playing baseball, then, the opportunities are out there, and don't stop fighting, because this world has a lot of opportunities, and only going to get more out there. And also, by the way, I go to the Woo Sox games all the time. So I'm there all summer.
Perfect. I think, you spoke on a panel last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I was at the women's in baseball panel. It was an awesome event to be in. Ever since then, the whole Woo Sox family has brought me in, and I bring all my friends and family to the games, and it's just a cool little place to see games at. And yeah, I love it there.
Me too. Me too. I love baseball. I love being a part of the entire community, just women in baseball. It's such a great group. And Marty, I'm so glad to have gotten to meet you today.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, maybe I'll see you at one of the games this summer.
Perfect. See you then.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.